Today we're going to be talking a little bit about polynomial vocabulary. So our goals for today are to determine whether an expression is a polynomial, and then even further we want to classify a polynomial as either a monomial, binomial, or trinomial. And then we're also going to talk about degrees of a polynomial. All right, so let's talk about what a polynomial is. So it's an algebraic expression that's built up from individual terms where the exponents on all the variables in these terms are whole numbers. So we have a couple of examples here. We have x, y squared, negative 26x cubed y, 4, and 9xyz. So all of these are actually examples of monomials because they are individual terms. There's nothing added or subtracted to these. So a monomial is just a single term. Now a binomial is where we add two monomials together or subtract them. All right, so for example, if we had x plus y squared, this would be a binomial because we have the monomial x and then another monomial added to it, y squared. All right, and one step further, we also have a trinomial, which is basically the same thing, except now we're going to be adding three monomials together. So for example, x plus y squared minus 26x cubed y. All right. Now, one thing that's important to note about these examples right here, you might notice this 4 seems a little out of place when we're referring to something as a variable, right? We don't have any x's or y's or any other variables in here. However, this can still be written using variables because we can write 4 as 4x to the 0. And this makes it a monomial where the exponent on our variable is just going to be 0. So here we have a nice definition for you to refer to on what a polynomial actually is. So a polynomial can either be a monomial, which is that single term that we talked about, or it can be two or more monomials combined by addition or subtraction. So we talked about binomials and trinomials, which are both polynomials. Binomials have two monomials. Trinomials have three monomials. However, it doesn't just stop there. We can have 4, 5, 6, or as many terms as we want, and it'll still be a polynomial. Because poly means many, so we can have as many of those monomials as we want. So here we have this example, 4x squared plus 5y squared plus 6z squared, and we want to know whether or not this is a polynomial. So thinking back to that definition that we just looked at, is it either a monomial or a bunch of monomials added or subtracted together? So in this case, we have three monomials, so terms that have variables with whole number powers. So this is going to be a polynomial based on that definition. Now, even more specifically, this is going to be a trinomial because we have 1, 2, 3 monomials added together. All right, now let's look at this next example. So we also want to determine if this is going to be a polynomial. So we have x cubed plus 2x plus 2x to the negative 3. All right, so let's break this down with each term. All right, so our first term, or monomial, is going to be x cubed. So this is a monomial, so that's a good start. 2x is also a monomial. However, 2x to the negative 3 is not a monomial. Because remember from that definition, we said that a polynomial or a monomial was defined as a term with a variable that has a whole number power. Now here we have a power of negative 3, which is a negative number, not a whole number, so this is not a polynomial. Now let's talk about the degree of a polynomial. So before, we've talked about the degree of terms in an expression. So now we are going to talk about the degree of monomials and polynomials. All right, so the degree of a monomial is going to be the sum of the exponents on each variable in a monomial, and the degree of a polynomial is going to be the degree of the highest degree monomial. All right, so that'll make a little bit more sense once we get into some examples. So if we want to find the degree of x squared y squared, like we just defined, this is going to be the sum of the exponents in our monomial. So our monomial is just going to be x squared y squared because we have no addition or subtraction. So the sum of the exponents is going to be 2 plus 2. So our degree is going to be 4. Now we want to determine the degree of this expression or polynomial. All right, so that is going to be the degree of the monomial that has the highest sum of exponents. All right, so let's look at each of these three monomials individually. So x to the fourth has a degree of 4. Negative 7x cubed has a degree of 3. And 9x squared has a degree of 2. All right, so in this case, that's just going to be the exponent on each of these x's. So since x to the fourth has the highest exponent, this is going to be the degree of this polynomial. So this is going to be a fourth degree polynomial. Now we have one more example here. So let's do the same thing that we did for that previous polynomial and determine the degree of this polynomial by looking at each of the monomials individually. So we have negative 2x cubed. The degree of this is just going to be 3. Then our next monomial in this polynomial is 4x squared y. Now we can also write this as y to the 1 if that makes it a little bit clearer. So the degree of this is going to be 2 plus 1, which is equal to 3. And now on our last monomial there, we have negative y cubed. And the degree of this is once again going to be 3. Now we said that the degree of a polynomial is going to be the degree of the highest power monomial. In this case, all three of our monomials have the same exponent, or the same degree, which is 3, which means this is going to be a third degree polynomial, or a polynomial with a degree of 3. All right, so I hope you all learned a little something about polynomials, monomials, and degrees today. Keep brushing up on the vocabulary. I know it can get a little confusing, but if you keep using those words, then you're going to do a great job. All right, everybody, keep up the great work.